Hello everyone, welcome back. I have a double page scrapbook layout for you today. As you can see, we've got some fall papers on my desk here. This is called Gnomes for Autumn, and it is a special out with close to my heart right now, and it's cute. It is so cute. I love fall papers because I love the colors, but look at the little gnomes. Now, if you're not on Team Gnome, some of you aren't, and that's okay. You can flip this paper over and there is an adorable pattern without gnomes. So the rest of them are just these great patterns and colors, perfect for fall. But look at how cute little hedgehogs and acorns, corn, pumpkins, and gourds and fall leaves. But I do think these gnomes are pretty darn cute. Look at this one sitting on the tree stump there. So this, as I mentioned, is a special. There are some stamps and whatnot I'll show you a little bit later in the video. But here's another set of pattern paper. We've got this great stripe bringing in all those colors. Super fun word search type paper, and they have kind of highlighted the actual words in different colors that are all very fall inspired. Harvest moon, family gatherings, bushel of fun, Thanksgiving cornucopia. But it's small enough, like you could get away with using this on a back to school paper and just kind of maybe not focus on the words, but just have the letters. At least I can see that being a fun idea. And then this one here, we've got this stripe. This is a new color coming out. It's called Limeade. And on the other side, which I think this is gorgeous, we have fall leaves, and the distressing and colors on this pattern paper, it's just so pretty. So as I mentioned, this is a special, and it's actually featured in the new Essentials catalog. This does not come out until September, but I will be doing a catalog walkthrough on this, and there's a little spot in the back for this special. So you can kind of see there's the paper pack, there is a coordinating cardstock, a sticker sheet, which is right here. Leaves are falling, autumn is calling, sweater weather, autumn is the air, thankful. Lots of different title options on here, and then cute stickers. I love the banner. I'm going to be using this in today's layout, but I'm showing you this because I don't have them yet. There is a thin cut set where you can make this gnome, and she's pretty darn cute, and I'll be showing you guys this later in the month. But there is that, and then a couple stamp sets that go along with one. Another great title builder stamp, Gather with Grateful Hearts, Autumn Splendor, and Happy Harvest. And look at that layout. I think that they've done a really pretty job on that layout, and you can see how they've used all of those pattern papers. Very fun. I have 3 photos to scrapbook today, and this is my mom being super fun. She's got a little pumpkin on top of her head. She loves to decorate for fall, and her little sitting area looks so pretty, so I thought, you know what, I want to snap some pictures, and my youngest son Clayton was there, so I got a picture of her and him. This is a 5x7 photo that does include the white border. This one is a 4x6, and then a 3x4, and that one is my mom and I all sitting in her garden looking so festive. I am using a new sketchbook. This is in the new Essentials catalog, so it's not available till September 1st. Many of you were so sad you missed out on volume 5 when they discontinued it, so I think you're going to be pretty excited about this one. This is volume 6, and I'll be also showing this a little bit later in the month, but there's cards and scrapbook layouts. So I pulled these out here to show you. I'm using this layout as my inspiration. These idea books are really neat because they give you the same pattern with different papers and a little bit different take on it. You know, they've used different titles, but the layout's the same, and they give you the blueprints. So I can't, give you all the measurements, but they tell you exactly what to cut, where to place it, everything. It's just like cookie cutter scrapbooking. But we're going to be using this layout because there's that little banner element, and I have 3 photos, and then there's this little banner sticker here. So I'm going to change it up just a little bit probably, but yeah, I love this layout and I can't wait to put it together. Let me clear these up and grab both of my Versamats here. As I mentioned, it is going to be a double page layout, so we'll bring them both in so it keeps me in frame too. And I am using White Daisy as my base, I think. Actually, I'm probably going to create a frame style layout, but I haven't planned out my papers yet. So I'm just going to put this down for now. Those are removable glue dots, so I can easily lift this paper up, but that'll just keep it from shifting around on my mat. So in the inspiration layout, they have a darker outline kind of framing it all in, and then the 5x7 goes here, and then they create a column with their photos here, and then lots of pattern papers running across. So I need to decide what pattern papers I want to use. And let's pick one of these for sure. Now they're not huge pieces of pattern paper, so I think I'm going to, gosh, those are both so cute. How do you decide? I'm going to use one or the other because they're too similar to put next to each other. So, I don't know. You know what? Not a ton of the pattern is showing, so I think I'm going to go with a smaller pattern because you'll be able to take more of that pattern in. Does that make sense? The way the layout is, a lot of this would be kind of obscured by the layers over the top and the title and whatnot, and you wouldn't be able to appreciate the icons that are a little bigger. So let's go with that one. And I'm pretty confident I want to use this one because there's a lot of the pumpkin color in the photos, and I just think that's so pretty. So maybe that one. Let me get that zip strip away from the other pattern so I can see those. That's looking good. I like those too. So then I also have this word search paper and then the stripe paper here. And I think I am going to use that maybe for something else. So maybe we'll go with the stripe, and I'll probably run it this way. I like it. Okay, I'm going to go cut these down. I'll be right back. I did go ahead and add a piece of espresso cardstock behind that. I know it's hard to see it on the black mat, but I did add that. Cut this down to 11.5 squared, and then I cut the measurements kind of according to the sketch. I changed it just a little bit, and I'll explain why. So these pieces here, the orange pattern paper, would be one big piece behind there. But since you're not seeing that whole middle section, I decided to save paper and just cut that down into 2 strips instead of one solid piece. And this one will go here. I haven't cut the length yet because I might do the same, because there's this big piece of cardstock or pattern paper, whatever you choose, to cover that middle section. So I'm going to trim these papers and save what's behind there as well. So this is the kind of the base for the first side. What I'm going to do is ink all of these up in Espresso. Espresso is the same color cardstock that is on my base, and I chose this color because it's a coordinating color or a featured color in this paper pack. So I love it. It just takes the guesswork out of it, and you don't even have to, take time to decide, well, what color should I use? So there's my little Espresso ink blending tool or foam there. And we'll just attach that, and I am going to pause the camera and go around all of my pieces of paper with my espresso ink. So go ahead and grab a cup of coffee, and I'll be right back. How many of you actually went and got a cup of coffee? My friend Laura's always telling me to do that during her videos, and I have to laugh because normally I'm like, all right, I don't mind if I do, and I go get coffee. So in the example layouts, they have some ink blending with some background stamping, and I really like that. So I am going to do that as well, and I think I'm going to do a little toffee ink. So I've got my toffee ink pad, and then we're going to just have it kind of coming out from this area and a little bit down here. I like using the blending brush because it goes on nice and soft. So I'm just kind of looking at my measurements. So we've got the 5 needs to come from behind the 5, and then the 8.5. So I know that's where I need to go, and I can move these out of the way. I always like to start underneath my paper and work my way out with my blending brush, or at least touch it down behind where it will be concealed to kind of blot it off. And then you'll get this seamless, smooth ink blended area, and you won't have any like harsh imperfections or anything of that nature. I think that looks good. I've got this great background stamp called Setting the Scene, and I'm going to use this one here with the swirls and the fall leaves. There's a text stamp, some lines that can be used for journaling lines, and then of course these like kind of watercolory blotches and some clouds and the sun. So this was a really, really cool stamp, or at least I thought so, and I've used the text stamp. I created a fall layout in the creative design team private membership group where I did some background stamping with that one, and I love how it turned out. So for this particular one, I am going to use That's on the wrong side of my block. There is a rounded corner that's more comfortable to hold on the upside of the block. So I think I'm going to use shortbread. Let me bring this paper back in so I know where that is going to start, right about there. And then we can ink this. Oops, I got stuff everywhere here. Ink this up with our shortbread ink. I want it to be a nice light color. And then we'll go right about there. Scoot that out of the way. It's okay if it stamps kind of imperfect. And there, that looks good. Let me clear this out of the way. Oh, I think that's going to look really pretty. I just need to repeat the process on the bottom of my layout here. Starting underneath, blot it off, and then work out. I do realize on camera you probably can't see that background stamping very well because of the intensity of my lights, but in person it is very obvious and you can see the swirls and the leaves. And I think the ink blending always looks like a hot mess on camera also. I'm going to go ahead and bring these back in. At some point I should go ahead and commit and cut those down and adhere them, but we do need to do a little bit more stamping, and it is so nice when you can just move your papers out of the way and stamp behind them instead of masking it off. So one more little spot of that background stamp. I went ahead and got all those pieces adhered down. You can see I removed the center sections of those. Now they used pattern paper for this piece here, and since I'm just using a solid cardstock, I do want to add some character to that a little bit. And I've got my all-purpose mat because I'm going to do some ink blending onto the edges and some stamping. I am going with my Toffee ink. Now this cardstock is almond, which is a retired color. Toffee would work beautifully. I just have a bunch of this almond cardstock and I'd like to use it up, so it was a good opportunity to do so. I am just adding a halo of color, kind of a vignette coming in from the outside. Have fun with this. You can add as much or as little as you would like. And then we're going to add some stamping over the top of this ink blended area. So I'm just going to go all the way around the perimeter here, just touching up a few areas. Now let's use this text stamp. Now it is a very tiny font. You can read it if you got good eyes, but it is a little excerpt from a Winnie the Pooh story. So I thought that that was kind of fun. I am going to just have a little hinting of this around the edge in a few random places. And I'm going to kind of extend it or move it in and then move it out so it is at varied lengths. And then just maybe some down there. I am liking that. That looks good. It just kind of gives it a distressed look and some background interest. I can go ahead and bring my photos in, and there's my 5x7, and then we've got the 4x6. I'll adhere that right up top, and then my 3x4 down in the bottom section right here. I mentioned earlier I wanted to use the banner element from the coordinating sticker sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and get that into place. And I stick down the outer edges first, and then I can split the difference in the middle and fill in those spaces, making sure that they are spaced evenly across. This element is kind of what sparked the inspiration for this whole layout. Now for my title, I'm going to use this sticker, Leaves Are Falling, Autumn is Calling. I did add some thin 3D foam to the back of that. Now this is the Cozy Up stamp, and I really like it because these pumpkins are perfect. There's 3. I always do things in odd numbers, so it's just really easy to work with when you're creating embellishments. I've got a piece of paprika and the new pumpkin. The pumpkin's the lighter one on the right, paprika is the darker. I thought it'd be nice to have a couple different colors. And to add a little character to these, I am going to sand up the cardstock, revealing that white core. My nail file is kind of worn out. This would be much easier with a sanding block, but you can just see how that is distressing the cardstock. Now, as I was saying earlier, I love to do things embellish in clusters of 3, and I like to have elements of 3 or 5 odd numbers. So I love how these pumpkins are different sizes. You've got the tall kind of round one, and then you have like the Cinderella style pumpkin and then the smaller one. So it makes it so easy to put them together in a very visually appealing arrangement. I'm stamping these onto that distressed cardstock. I do want to add a little bit more sanding in this area. Again, if you have a sanding block, which I do, I just don't know where it is at the moment, that would be much easier. And then black ink, and we will just stamp maybe this one, and let's go ahead and do another little tiny guy down here. That way I have lots to work with. I'll go ahead and use the coordinating dies and get those die cut off camera. And now we have all of these very cool, quick and easy pumpkins to embellish with. So I'm kind of picturing that there will be a little cluster of pumpkins down here. I like to put some behind the photos, some on top. I'm just going to roughly place these and then see, we'll let it develop, see where it goes from there. So maybe this one here, again, that is paprika and a new color called pumpkin. I think there's too much orange. I went ahead and stamped a couple onto shortbread cardstock, and let me see how these are going to look. We just have so much orange on this paper. I thought those shortbread pumpkins would be a nice addition. And I'm going to move these kind of down out to this corner because I have an idea. All right, I think that's good. We'll go with that for now. I have this stamp set called In Autumn Time, and I thought she is so pretty, and there's this cute little clipboard. This is something I'm going to be using in my planner as well, but I'll show you here in the catalog. You can see it a little bit better. I just love this girl, and then this clipboard is Autumn Essentials, Sweater, Book, Pumpkin Spice, Warm Socks. I love the sentiments. I'm going to use this one, Current Mood Autumn, and then I like this pumpkin with the flowers and leaves tucked into it. So what I did is I already went ahead and stamped a couple of those with intense black ink so that they had time to dry, but that's that image right there. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment also. I keep a bunch of these shapes die cut for card making, and I could just stamp a little sentiment, but they're great for scrapbooking also. So it kind of reminds me of the shape of this, and I thought maybe I could put it right here is what I'm envisioning. So let's see if this is barely going to fit on here, but I've got my ink. Let's put a little foam pad underneath there, and then we'll ink this up here. And I love it when they mix and match fonts like this. Current Mood is kind of a block square type font, and then we have a script font with Autumn. So we'll line up so the Current Mood part is straight. Let that soak into the tag there. And yeah, perfect. I meant to grab espresso and grab mocha, but that's okay. That is going to work great. These browns are all going to blend beautifully together. So if I pop this up kind of right there, maybe behind the pumpkin, then we're going to put some leaves in here also. I have these really cool cork leaves, and they're adhesive backed, but yeah, they're really great texture, and you've got lots of different sizes on here. So I popped a couple of these out, and maybe we could just tuck some of these kind of behind the pumpkins. I'll use my thin foam tape to pop the little pumpkins up. If we put a little guy kind of down here behind this smaller pumpkin. And I'm just going to set them here for now. I can always kind of rearrange them later. That looks good. Whatever I do to one side, I like to do to the other side. And we'll just put that one there for now. Now I also have this stamp, Gnomes for Autumn, and this is the Gnomes for Autumn scrapbooking, but you can definitely use these on cards as well. And since when I went ahead and stamped this image, I stamped a whole bunch of the leaves. So we have kind of an oak leaf and a maple leaf, and again in intense black ink, so those had time to dry. And then some of the sunflowers. So I stamped a couple of the big ones and a couple of the small ones. And I don't know if I'm going to use all of these, but you know, whatever I don't use on my layouts, I love to make cards with my leftovers. So I've got those in intense black ink. I started coloring a few of the images, and then I saved a couple to show you on camera the colors I'm using and how I'm doing them. So I've got one of the little daisies or sunflowers, and then this one I chose to go with the dark red. This is the dark red shades. I'm using the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blends. They have a light, medium, and dark in one marker, making it really convenient. And I chose that color because there is some of the darker reds in this paper, so I wanted to accent just a little bit of that. So we have a couple of those, and then the leaves I have used dull green, and I selected this one because we have that limeade color that's in this little banner and then in the paper in the leaves as well. So I wanted to just bring a little bit of that in, but let me show you how I'm coloring these. I'm not getting really carried away or detailed with those. I'm just throwing down some color nice and quick. So here's my leaves and then a few of the flowers. And again, I'm using dull green blend. And then for the flowers, the sunflowers, I have gold yellow blend and earth brown blend for the center. So I'll just show you real quick on one of these, starting with the gold yellow blend. I am going to start with the darkest color first and then just start laying down the color from the center using flick-like motions going out towards the tips of the petals. I'm going to speed this up quite a bit, but I am not taking a lot of time. I know that coloring can be very time, intensive, but I think that it doesn't have to be. You can get some shading and make these images look great by quickly coloring in these images. So I have used the darker, and now I move to the medium, and now the light, and I'm just extending that color each time, going over the area I previously colored and blending it all in. So you do want to be careful not to go outside of the lines. That happens if you get too quick. But let's go ahead and use this earth brown. I'm starting with the darkest for the outside edge of the center of the flower, working my way into the lightest color in the center. And you can see how pretty that looks, quick and simple. I will repeat the process for the leaves. I'm starting with the darkest, and I'm going to go along the veining of the leaves with the dark color, and then I will kind of blend that out with the medium and then go over the entire image with the light color. And it does add some depth and just more of a kind of a realistic look to these stamped images when you do add this shading. There are coordinating dies for these sunflowers and the leaves, so that is very nice. I went ahead and got those cut out. I wanted them pretty tight. I didn't want a lot of white space, so I did fussy cut these images. But again, there are coordinating dies for those of you that don't like to fussy cut. So let's just kind of tuck these guys in and around our embellishment clusters here. I like to dry fit everything so that I can kind of move them around. Let's put this little pumpkin and see how good that one looks. We colored that one with the markers and it blends right in with our pumpkins stamped on cardstock, which is a super fast way of coloring them because it's done for you. But just that little bit of sanding adds some dimension to those otherwise solid cardstock images. Let's go ahead and put one of the small sunflowers, maybe a few green leaves here, and then we want to, of course, repeat those on the opposite side. We'll add some to this embellishment cluster down here. Again, some are overlapping the photo, some are going behind the photo, and we're just kind of nestling them all in together. And maybe up here, we can put just a little bit on top of our title. Let me add a little green oak leaf there. On second thought, let's move that up to this top area here. So I have talked about the visual triangle before. That's something I kind of, it's not a hard and fast rule, but if you're having difficulties knowing where to place your embellishment, that is a great starting point. So we have the pumpkin and floral embellishment cluster on the right. We've got the one on the lower left, and this banner element with just a few of the little flowers and leaves make our third embellishment cluster up top. Now these are the Cozy Up coordinating enamel dots, and they come in different colors and there's some sparkly ones, some solid ones, and they're all coordinating colors for the Cozy Up, which is another fall collection. I'm going to finish off this banner element with those joining the little pieces together like they're kind of hanging together. Now I need to add some journaling. On the layout, they have the journaling over here on the side. I'm going to use that same setting the scene stamp for my journaling, but I don't want it going all the way off the edge. So I'm using some low tack tape to mask that area off, and that way it'll stop just shy of the edge. So I'm going to line that up, and I like how these are kind of dotted lines and they are, staggered. It's not blocky. Each one is offset. Hopefully you can see that there. I just lifted up that little cork shape because I wanted to give myself a little bit more room for my journaling. And I think I'll just go with the 2 for now. If I do need to add another one, I can always stamp that later. I'm going to put back in my cork shapes, and then I can remove my masking tape there for a nice clean edge. Let me hold this up for you. Now, do you see that shiny center to the sunflower? I used liquid glass and just added that glossy finish. And once it dries, it goes on kind of hazy, but once it dries, it's just this clear, shiny center, and it adds so much to those embellishments. Everything I use can be found in the description box below. Just know that sketchbook I used to create this layout will be available September 1st. So that link will be live at September 1st and you can check back for that. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you found this layout inspiring. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and I'll catch you next time.